who this is? It's Roman Reigns. You might remember him as the man who keeps getting his Jordan stolen by Big Bronson Reed recently on WWE Monday Night Raw. But before that, Roman Reigns was known for other things, like being maybe the face of WWE for close to a decade and being the longest reigning WWE champion in recent memory. Maybe one of the longest reigning champions at the top of all of wrestling. He was also part of two of the most popular factions in the last 20 years and has wrestled in more WrestleMania main events than anyone else ever up to this point, all while beating a real life-threatening illness. You're watching Sportskeeda Wrestling. I demand that you acknowledge us in the comments, hit the like button, subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling. I'm Kevin Kellam. Let's take a look how Roman Reigns may have saved WWE more than once. The first time that Roman Reigns was in a critical position to save WWE, if you want to characterize it as that, was with The Shield, coming along and establishing himself as a main eventer alongside two other future main eventers. At the time, WWE's main event scene was heavily depleted of top talent that had either retired, moved on, or taken a part-time role, or had been squashed or squandered within WWE's competitive system. Reigns, alongside Seth Rollins and Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose, revitalized WWE's developmental vision in the early 2010s, becoming three of the biggest call-ups from what was still a very new idea of NXT, carving out three very different characters and careers when the group met at the demise of others under their shield, if you will. They were quite the faction and had a really strong run and redesigned the entire idea of what big tag team matches were in WWE. Following the breakup of the Shield, it introduced a new persona for Roman Reigns, the Big Dog, to save WWE, maybe for a second time when he went solo? This one's a little bit more conflicting. Yeah, for the young kids and the women, he may have been the new solution for a not there all the time John Cena, whereas other fans were not really into the idea of someone being put on the pedestal while John Cena tried to go do Hollywood. Roman Reigns was handpicked by the high brass of WWE to be the company's next big star. He's the face. They told you he's the face. They strapped a Cena-style rocket to Roman, and all the WWE fans were conflicted on it. A lot of the dudes were not into it. Vince McMahon and others refused to acknowledge the boos and the dissension and ride with Reigns. The mega push for the Big Dog, as he was still called, continued, and some people got behind it and went ooh-ah whenever he went for the big spear, you know? Whether fans took his style or booking or not, he was a global superstar. That was undeniable. He had more than enough support to be in big-time roles. A man who could carry the company full-time while the rest of WWE's main eventers either took part-time projects or simply just weren't there week to week. The likes of Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Cena, Chris Jericho, and Goldberg, those type of guys. Reigns was booed out of the building in some big match situations, but he stayed strong throughout until a sudden and tragic re-diagnosis of leukemia put the brakes on his life and his career. Roman Reigns, known to his family as Liti Joseph Anawahi, had suffered with the disease earlier in his life before his WWE career took off. So it took some much needed time for him away from WWE this time to fight it once more and beat it again. Returning to a great universal welcome, even the fans who booed him had to get behind him in this real life situation, and a run that saw him beat Drew McIntyre in his WrestleMania return match. Though the boos at him had soured just a little bit, rather the WWE system had faintly persisted in keeping Roman fresh on this way. Reigns was self-isolated for the most part of the pandemic in 2020, choosing to sit out a WrestleMania as the pandemic settled in to take on Goldberg. Braun Strowman would take his place and win the title at WrestleMania 36 in front of no fans. Roman sat in the shadows, waiting for something different. But when Roman came out of those same shadows, he did something very different. As WWE came into their Thunderdome era with no fans, a time for reinvention was upon the way that characters were presented in WWE. And he showed up at SummerSlam 2020 to wreck everyone and leave and save WWE again, as they needed something fresh, which was probably quite interesting at this point for him to choose to basically reinvent his entire character. Returning as Braun Strowman battled the Fiend Bray Wyatt for the Universal Championship, alongside that, wreck everyone and leave shirt, Roman captured the title in the following months to embark on his career-defining 1,316-day reign as WWE Champion. This was the birth of the Tribal Chief, along with a long-awaited pairing with Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns was popping up for WWE in a difficult time in live entertainment in general. This was a part-timer rolling the dice when it felt like taking a risk was worth it with no fans there. It paid off when Roman shed his divisive, audience-splitting, play the good guy because we need a good guy role to become a psychologically in-depth character, a heavyweight, ego-driven villain. It was really cool. Somehow, the exact opposite of how he saved the company last time. The Tribal Chief saw Roman Reigns lean into the booze, getting a negative reception, fully becoming a heel, which allowed the man himself to get his bite back. That sharp edge that eluded Roman during his time as the big dog since he left the Shield was now in his grasp once more, along with the WWE Championship and practically every main event in front of the company around this time. With an obvious pairing with Paul Heyman, they truly became an interesting pair to follow, and it kept developing. He was a lot more authentic than he had ever been in WWE. He was cutting promos in the middle of matches. Yeah, really using the space with no fans there to be a character that could draw you in and fill the scene without fans in an empty studio. Cutting some of the funniest and most memed promos of the 2020s so far. All while being an unstoppable force who defeated and really cheated the likes of Bray Wyatt, Goldberg, Drew McIntyre, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Seth Rollins, Matt Riddle, Sami Zayn, and his own cousin Jey Uso. More on him in a little bit. He became the ultimate big baddie at the top of WWE, and this ironically made him the same WWE bro-man dude favorite. Yes, the same bro-man dude fans who booed him years earlier were starting to cheer him as he was cool. Yes, after booing him for years as a good guy, the WWE male audience began to cheer their tribal chief. Think of it as you're rooting for Jason Voorhees while watching a Friday the 13th slasher horror film. A villain so captivating, you're excited to see him cause chaos. What is happening here? What is going on? I swear Roman Reigns exists outside of a realm of traditional wrestling logic on some level. This is why WWE fans can't have anything nice, but in fairness, Reigns as the tribal chief in his prime was just that good. Yes, he works 10 times less than you. Yes, he makes 10 times more than you. He leaned into that whole part-time role that he got with a revived WWE contract that was more conducive to his personal life. But when he was on screen, he was an evil bastard. But you couldn't really hate him. You could not like him, but you couldn't hate him because he always proved himself right in some way, even if he was still the wrong guy ethically. And a lot of this has to do with the Bloodline, the history-making faction made up of mostly his family. Reigns started it alongside Heyman and his cousins, the Usos. The original version of the group was a merch-selling machine, the likes of which WWE truly relishes and they always appreciate. I knew a lot of people that had themselves some Bloodline merch and had to get it every time they went to an arena for a couple of years. He was exploiting his family as a de facto leader of it, playing up their tribal culture and saying that they were obligated to protect him. It was a power vacuum that allowed Roman Reigns to remain an elusive ruler of the main event scene of WWE while not being on WWE television weekly and remaining a WWE champion you would see at premium live events and bigger TV shows. He rarely, if ever, won matches clean during this time frame, but that's not the point. The OG Bloodline added the likes of Solo Sikoa to their ranks later down the line, introducing him at a critical time when maybe those run-in finishes for Roman needed a refresh. And even Sami Zayn was made the honorary Us, kind of an odd fellow outlier who also sold a lot of t-shirts for WWE and played into critical storylines within the Bloodline, with Roman also amping it all up. Roman Reigns, with his lackeys, was able to unify 2 world championships and continue his main event dominance of WWE. Despite his TV appearances being reduced, Reigns' presence within WWE felt more impactful than ever. The Bloodline saga was some of the best WWE storyline telling we had seen in a long time. Some compared it to crime thriller TV shows you would see on HBO, earning the now insanely overused description of absolute cinema. Yeah, some people only learned that word a few years ago and love to tweet it. Such twists and turns were there on this journey that you simply had to follow what was going to happen next. Roman was the top player in all of it. Members' loyalty within the Bloodline was always tested on several occasions, and that loyalty was just do whatever Roman needs you to do to keep Roman in the position he's in. Potential challengers' hopes were dashed through devious means. Drew McIntyre getting screwed at Clash at the Castle. Sami Zayn rising up against Roman Reigns to a massive ovation. You remember that? And Jey Uso finally snapping after being just browbeaten and manipulated by Roman. Yes, Roman manipulated him. Don't rewrite history. But here's the thing with all these moments. They all centered and played off the tribal chief in one way or another. It seemed like every other time the group was on TV, social media rife with clips, Reigns dropped a banger line, a certain face that would just be shared everywhere, and their infighting between the members kept you thinking of when was it ever going to fall apart? You just kept going with it. And then Paul Heyman always being devious in the background. The tribal chief also proved hugely popular overseas, evidenced by the great reception he got during his match with Logan Paul in Saudi Arabia in 2022. An underrated match with an underrated build and some great promo work from Roman Reigns to get there with a relative newcomer to that kind of match. The Bloodline saga then set up an ideal platform to reintroduce maybe the most popular member of the Bloodline that we hadn't seen just yet, The Rock. Yes, movie star The Rock back to WWE's on-screen storylines. Fitting in nicely, some established a family lore, if you will, providing a high-profile tag team partner for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 Night 1. Though Rocky did steal the pinfall for himself, yeah, top guy move there. He's in the boardroom. TKO top guy move. After main eventing WrestleMania more than anyone else, having a longer title reign than anyone else in recent wrestling memory, while fronting the most popular faction of the 2020s, Reigns then served up as the perfect foil for the next true baby face of WWE. A valiant hero, a good guy, the complete opposite of Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. Roman was projecting himself, though, as a forever champion, more than a champion, a god within WWE, to be praised not just by his family, but everyone else. Acknowledge him! Yes, the ego was just oozing off the screen. Roman Reigns stood firmly in Cody's path to preserve the championship once more, not as this elusive thing that Roman held hostage from everyone else, and his family helped him do. Yeah, he was going to pursue the championship that had eluded Cody's father, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, years earlier. Roman and his Ulafala necklace were going nowhere, though, and when Cody challenged for the championship at WrestleMania 39, Bloodline interference once again saw Roman keep both belts. Some speculate that the timing of Roman sleazing his way out of Hollywood with the championships once more was a reliable and safe bet considering of his blockbuster profitability for WWE right as they were merging with TKO and UFC. This only spurred on Cody and his supporters, especially when The Rock was added to the mix. They insisted that Cody gets the belt from Roman at WrestleMania the next year, fully confirming that the grandson of a plumber was on the rise to chase the biggest bad guy that's ever been in WWE. Roman needed to be that bad for Cody to feel that good. This was the match and the ending that everyone wanted to see. It was all of the important elements because all of the work Roman Reigns had done, all the supporting players, and his WWE Championship culminated to this. If anything, the generational WWE Universal Champion took on something of a backseat during WrestleMania weekend. Maybe because of The Rock. Yeah, he is bigger than the bubble of wrestling. But this meant that Roman Reigns got to main event both nights of WrestleMania. And it came down to night 2. Cody, with all of the support of the WWE fans, even some that loved Roman Reigns, was now able to defeat the once unstoppable champion in an Avengers Endgame type scenario. A tearful reaction. One of the biggest WWE title changes we can recall in recent memory, and it had to feel like a big deal because it was Roman Reigns taking the pin. He carried the company for close to a decade. He had beaten a real life-threatening illness. He had become a generational talent. He reinvented himself during a challenging time for entertainment in the entire world, and he crowned a new babyface champion for the company after a record-breaking run. All in a life's work, being disappeared off TV for just a little while. Yeah, here and there. that. These days, you can catch Roman Reigns on Raw, where he seems to make a shocking return every other week. It's not a return if he's on TV more frequently, but hey, does it make for a huge pop? Yeah, so why not? He also gets his shoes stolen a lot recently. Kinda just hangs around the WWE product and occasionally gets into some big fights. He's probably, maybe even with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman, gonna be involved with some big stuff before WrestleMania 42 in 2026. But he's already done a lot of things, really interesting things. And him pursuing the WWE Championship again, is that the best thing for him? He was the face of WWE for nearly 10 years. That's just part of the description. We have pitched a full reboot for Roman Reigns in some of our recent videos, which you can check out on our channel, which you should be doing, by the way. Subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling, get those notifications on. It's great, as Tony Khan might say. All in all, though, Roman Reigns has been a durable, valuable, flexible asset for WWE in the main roster since his debut in the early 2010s. He's shown a tremendous range as a performer and has evolved and developed, always seeming to improve something else as time goes on, even at this level. It's hard to imagine someone with a career like him being underrated, but Roman Reigns might be when you look at the big picture of wrestling overall. He's bailed WWE out of the muck on more than one occasion, especially as a creative player at pivotal times. Despite bearing a brunt of fan backlash, he's defied all expectations. He's even going to be in a Street Fighter movie coming up, apparently, which could go either way in terms of quality. But hey, the Scorpion King made The Rock, so anything's possible. Hopefully we don't get CGI like we got in the Scorpion King. Roman Reigns might have taken a step back from the world title picture for a moment, but with his old stablemate Seth Rollins and the man who betrayed him just recently, Paul Heyman, floating around the World Heavyweight Championship, we may see another tribal chief title reign in the near future. Is it going to top the one we saw before? That's a whole another discussion. Yeah, that's for another video. What do you think? Did Roman Reigns really save WWE for you? Or are we blowing this out of proportion with the way we're speculating on all of it? Let us know your thoughts. Your thoughts matter. Get down there. Even if you don't agree, hit the like button. You had a good time. You watched this whole video. Share it with your friends, especially someone who is loyal to their tribal chief. Subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling so you can see more content just like this. Yeah, and hit that notification button. We don't want to get lost in the rumble of videos that you can watch on here. This has been Sportskeeda Wrestling. I'm Kevin Kellam. We'll see you on the next one.